And now...
What is this?
I know you're gonna dig this.
This is the Flatland Sports Podcast.
Where do you come from? Lubbock, Texas?
Lubbock, Texas.
A place called Lubbock.
I wonder if they think I'm so gorgeous back in Lubbock.
What do you care about Lubbock? You're big time now.
I'm just a little homesick, that's all.
Is that what you want, Larry? To spend the night in Lubbock, Texas at a day's inn with a $15 voucher from Cinnabon?
Lubbock? No, it's near Lubbock.
What's it like there?
It's flat, real flat. You stand on a coffee can, you can see Colorado.
The Texas Tech Red Raiders, your Texas Tech Red Raiders, are Big 12 champions. How are you doing from across the Great Plains of West Texas? This is the Flatland Sports Podcast, free and available worldwide on YouTube and Spotify. This episode of the Flatland Sports Podcast is powered by Midwest Helmets, where owner Dallas Thompson turns football art into a full-on experience. If you've ever wanted a helmet of any team, any design, or a wild idea straight from your imagination, Dallas can make it happen. Want the classic double T on a bass boat glitter shell? He'll do it. Need a helmet to rep your fantasy football squad? He'll build that too. Whatever you're dreaming up, Dallas brings it to life with incredible attention to detail. These are one-of-a-kind pieces that will level up your office, man cave, studio, anywhere you rep your team. To order, DM Midwest Helmets on Instagram or hit their Facebook page. Both are linked in the description. And when you mention Flatland Sports in your message, you'll get 10% off your custom build. Midwest Helmets. Custom, bold, and built to stand out. For Flatland Sports, I am Christopher Johnson. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you're here right now, help me out. Like the video. Double check that you are subscribed. It doesn't cost you a thing, and it helps the show grow. We are approaching, and we may actually be at 50 followers on YouTube. Once we hit 50, I said we would start looking at doing live shows, so stay tuned for that. There may be some changes coming to the format soon. Lots to get into today. We will recap the Big 12 championship game last Saturday, grade the position groups. We'll talk about the college football playoff rankings and official playoff bracket. We'll also have the good, the bad, and the ugly, and we will pick the upcoming bowl games from this week. That and so much more. But first, Red Raiders in action. We'll start with women's basketball. Currently sitting at 10-0. Picked up another win last Wednesday against Wichita State. 83-43. Absolute domination by the Lady Raiders. Jada Malone recorded a double-double with 49 points from the bench. Snuda Collins had her 10th double-digit game of the year with 13 points. Bailey Maupin scored in double digits with 10 points, shooting 50% from the field. And Jalen Bristow was also in double digits with 10 points. Lady Raiders will be back in action on Friday at Washington State. That'll be a 6 p.m. tip-off Pacific time, so 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. That game is on ESPN+. Moving on now to men's basketball. The number 19 Texas Tech Red Raiders absolutely shellacked the LSU Tigers in the LBM Coast-to-Coast Challenge, a game that was supposed to be against the Fighting Texas Aggies, but they tucked tail and ran, as Aggies usually do. A lot of that going around this year. Notre Dame. 82-58, the final from Wolford. Texas Tech got off to a much quicker start in this game. You had guys not named JT Toppin and Christian Anderson step up, namely Luan Watts, who recorded a double-double, 15 points, 10 rebounds. Christian Anderson led the team with 27 points, 10 assists, and JT Toppin was good as always, 11 points, 15 rebounds, fourth double-double of the season. And most importantly, the defense just looked much better this time around. And yes, it's LSU. They're not a great basketball team by any means, but it's still a Power 5 roster, and you've struggled a bit with low-caliber Power 4, Power 5 teams this season, namely Wake Forest, Wyoming. They're not a Power 4 team, but a very high-level G5 team. Texas Tech played much better team ball, in my opinion. Anytime you have a player like JT Toppin record more rebounds than points in a win like this, that's a great thing, in my opinion. And what's also great, Luan Watts stepping up and playing more, how we expected him to play. He just needs to be more consistent and stay consistent. Defense was much better in this game, even compared to some of the blowout games against mid-major opponents that Tech had played so far, where maybe it felt like the opponent was stopping themselves more than you were stopping them. This time around, pure defense being played by the good guys in scarlet and black. Texas Tech will be back in action Saturday, December 13th against the number 17 Arkansas Razorbacks in the Rover Recruit rematch. It'll be a classic Southwest Conference basketball showdown on ESPN2 from the American Airlines Center in Dallas, Texas. What do we need to know about the Arkansas Razorbacks? Well, they come in at 7-2, losses to Michigan State, who was ranked number 9, and number 3 Duke. They have a great win, though, against number 11 Louisville. Last time you faced Arkansas was last year in the Sweet 16. The Red Raiders won 85-83 in overtime, overcame a 13-point deficit with under 5 minutes remaining to win and advance to the Elite Eight. Players to watch in this game: Darius Acuff, who's the freshman from Detroit, Michigan, averages 17.5 points per game, a 56% shooter from field goal range. Also, Trayvon Brazile, senior, he was there last year, transferred from Missouri in 2022, but he's been with the Razorbacks for most of his career. Averages 12.1 points per game, 7.1 rebounds per game, leads the Razorbacks in that category. Arkansas, a very physical team, not afraid to drive to the paint, very good from mid-range. Keys to the game: first of all, control the game. Don't let Arkansas create chaos. Play slow, physical ball. Force Arkansas to execute in the half court. Number 2, defend under the rim. Arkansas makes its living in the paint. Force them to take contested shots from distance and out-rebound the Razorbacks. And then the last key to the game, make threes. Take better shots from beyond the arc and just be more efficient. Now, it feels like the pieces are starting to come together for Texas Tech. Defense was much improved against LSU. Players are starting to step up. Arkansas will be tough, but this game comes at a good time for Texas Tech, in my opinion, and the final score will be 81-73 Texas Tech. When we return, we will discuss the Big 12 championship game against BYU. This is the Flatland Sports Podcast, presented by Midwest Helmets. Well, it is official. The Texas Tech Red Raiders, your Texas Tech Red Raiders, are Big 12 champions in football. 34-7 win over the 11th ranked BYU Cougars. This has been a long time coming. Some of you have been around for a long time, maybe experienced some incredible highs and lows between the 70s and 80s. If you're like me, you've been watching Texas Tech football since the mid-90s, experienced all the excitement of the Mike Leach years, then had the rug pulled out from under you when Leach was fired in 2009. Remained faithful throughout 15 years of being dragged through the mud. I watched every minute of 66-6 versus Oklahoma State in 2011. I kept my guns up when Tommy Tumerville snuck out of the bathroom window at the 50-yard line steakhouse during a recruiting dinner to go to Cincinnati. I was at Memorial Circle when Cliff Kingsbury was hired, and we thought we were going to be back in a big way. I kept my guns up when Patrick Mahomes was putting up 50 to 60 points a game, only to lose because your defense was giving up 60 to 70 points a game. And I kept my guns up when Matt Wells tried a field goal on second down and missed. So, Gap Kid, Sad Guns Up guy, Go Raiders guy, and everyone else who ever once called themselves a Red Raider, that win was for you. We'll go over the game real quick. BYU got off to a quick start, pretty much did exactly what I thought they would do, which was quick screen passes to the outside, trying to get 4 to 5 yards at a time, because they know they can't run. You can't run against this defense. And on top of that, you also can't let plays develop and throw down the field. So they kind of Mike Leached their way through that first series, and it worked well. BYU got on the board early with a 7-0 lead. Then Shieldwood did what Shieldwood does and made adjustments, and that was basically it for BYU. Did not score again for the rest of the game. Attempted one field goal, but missed. Turned the ball over numerous times. Ben Roberts decided he was tired of Jacob Rodriguez getting all the glory and picked off Bear Bachmeier twice. Broke it up another time. Almost picked it off for a third time. Offensively, you started a little slow. Had to punt your opening possession. Settled for field goals early on, but then absolutely turned on the gas after halftime, scoring 34 points total. And despite what the national media wants you to believe, BYU is a legit defense loaded with NFL talent. The narrative being painted around Texas Tech right now is that you can't play offense, I guess because you're not scoring 70 points a game like you did under Cliff Kingsbury. See, and I'm old enough to remember when 21 points was considered a shootout. The narrative is ultimately stupid. The powers that be, aka the national media, CBS, ESPN primarily, have been banging their heads on tables all season trying to justify the narrative that Texas Tech and the Big 12 by extension isn't good. They know now that they can't point to the defense anymore. So now they're trying to say that the offense isn't good. And they're also trying to say, too, that the defense only looks good because they've been playing against Big 12 teams and not real teams like you see in the SEC or the Big 10. I actually did hear a podcaster who will remain nameless claim that Texas Tech is fraudulent because they couldn't separate offensively. You not only won this game by 20 plus points, but every single win, 12 wins total this season, have been by 20 or more points. Now, I remember the Spike Dike years. I saw what it looks like when you have an elite level defense and a bad offense. This is not that. You don't win 12 games a season with a subpar offense. And you certainly don't win 12 games by 20 plus points consistently. This team, as I've mentioned before, reminds me a lot of the 2019 basketball team, just playing absolutely lights out defense and an offense that does enough to win. And frankly, does more than enough to win by the tune of 20 extra points. When we return, we will grade the position groups. This is the Flatland Sports Podcast powered by Midwest Helmets. Position group grades powered by Midwest Helmets. We'll start with the quarterbacks. Baron Morton, you get an A. I mean, just an absolute dominant performance. 20 out of 33, 215 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. And mind you, Morton is still playing with pretty much a broken leg right now. He's got a hairline fracture on his fibula and is just playing absolutely lights out right now at the exact right time that you needed him to hit his stride. Moving on to the running backs, you also get an A. Jacoby Williams, 15 carries, 80 yards. His longest was a 23-yard scamper. Cam Dickey, 18 carries, 72 yards, and 1 touchdown. Terrence Carter also got a carry for 12 yards. Baron Morton was sacked twice for -2 yards. Frankly, anytime I see Morton not running the ball, it's a good thing in my opinion. Wide receivers, you are getting an A. Reggie Virgil had a fantastic game, 8 receptions, 86 yards. Corey Eakin came back to life in this game, in my opinion. 3 catches, 2 of them were touchdowns, and 66 yards. 2 out of his 3 catches were for points. Caleb Douglas had a catch for 23 yards. Terrence Carter Jr., 3 catches for 22 yards. Having Terrence Carter Jr. back on your roster makes all the difference, in my opinion. Offensive line, you let a couple sacks come in, but otherwise the Texas Tech running backs were able to have their way with what is a really good BYU defense. So you're going to get an A as well. Moving on to defense, as I've said all season, I grade defense on a pass-fail scale. Did the defense hold the opponent to less points than the offense scored? Yes, to the tune of 7-34. Defense, you are getting an absolute A+++. Jacob Rodriguez, actually your leading tackler, 13 tackles, 4 of them solo. John Curry had 10 tackles, 5 of them solo, 1 tackle for a loss. Bryce Pollock had 5 tackles. David Bailey had 5 tackles. Cole Wisniewski, 5 tackles. But the hero of the game, of course, Ben Roberts, 5 tackles, 2 of them solo, but 2 interceptions in the game. He became the Big 12 championship game player of the game, much deserved. 2 interceptions, totaled 20 yards on the return. He returned each of them for about 10 yards. And we'll go to special teams. I will give you a B. It was a good game. However, Stone Harrington was 4 for 6 field goals, missed a couple. They were both long ones. So we'll say it's like a B+. Average 66.7%. His longest was 44 yards. He was 2 for 2 on extra points, responsible for 14 total points on the board. And punting-wise, Jack Burgess punted twice for a total of 80 yards. His longest was 45. Pretty much the definition of consistency. Jack Burgess. Both punts, by the way, going inside the 20-yard line, which is essentially the kiss of death for any opposing offense. We will talk college football playoff when we return. This is the Flatland Sports Podcast presented by Midwest Helmets. Texas Tech is officially in the college football playoff for the first time in program history. Lots of drama surrounding teams not named Texas Tech, specifically the fan bases who reside in Austin and South Bend. I'll put the bracket up on the screen right now. Round 1 will feature number 12, James Madison at number 5, Oregon. Number 9, Alabama at number 8, Oklahoma. That looks like it'll be a good game. Number 11, Tulane at Ole Miss, which is possibly the most intriguing matchup of the entire first round, with Ole Miss losing Lane Kiffin to take the job at LSU. Tulane responsible for upsets before. They upset USC, I believe was it the Alamo? Maybe the Alamo Bowl, possibly the Las Vegas Bowl back in 2022, I believe. And then Miami, the 10 seed at number 7 A&M, by far the best game of the entire series. And then the top 4 seeds who earned a first round bye are Indiana, who will play the winner of either OU or Alabama in the Rose Bowl. Ohio State will play the winner of Miami A&M in the Cotton Bowl. Georgia will play the winner of Tulane Ole Miss in the Sugar Bowl. Just a classic SEC bracket there with Tulane, for those of you who don't know, a original member of the Southeastern Conference. Texas Tech will get the winner of Oregon, James Madison in the Orange Bowl, which essentially means they'll get Oregon in the Orange Bowl. Although I'm not saying I think James Madison is going to win that game. But I saw Wayne Knight play in the Sun Belt Conference Championship game. Oregon, especially if they're kind of sleeping on them and they're looking ahead to Texas Tech, James Madison might make that game a little more interesting than people think. Now, James Madison's not going to be able to stop Oregon by any means at all. But if they find a way to get it into a shootout, it could get interesting. So we'll see how that goes. Some fans a little miffed at the bowl choice, preferring the Cotton Bowl over the Orange Bowl just for travel reasons. And you probably should have gotten the Cotton Bowl. The reason behind it was kind of wonky. The College Football Playoff Committee said that they gave it to Ohio State because they were worried. Initially, Ohio State would have gotten the Miami Orange Bowl, but Miami was in that bracket, or would have been in that bracket, and they were concerned about the idea of Miami having a home game. And so they moved Ohio State to the Cotton Bowl, where they will get A&M instead, more than likely, where A&M will have a home game in Dallas. Although technically Miami, there's a difference between A&M playing at AT&T Stadium in Dallas versus Miami actually playing in their home field. Either way, the reasoning is weird. I think even Ohio State may have preferred the Orange Bowl over the Cotton Bowl. It's about the same distance for fans to travel. Orange Bowl is a little bit more prestigious. But as a person who's been a fan of football, college football for over 30 years, the Orange Bowl is a really cool draw for me, in my opinion, right up there with the Rose Bowl in terms of just pure college football nostalgia. And as I mentioned, Texas Tech will likely face the Oregon Ducks unless James Madison upsets. The path to the national championship is as follows. You beat Oregon in the Orange Bowl, then likely Indiana in the Peach Bowl, and then either Georgia or Ohio State in the national championship game. And as we sit today with the defense that Texas Tech brings with them and a healthy Baron Morton, there isn't a team in this playoff field that Texas Tech can't beat. Oregon especially, I feel like, for the Oregon Ducks, this is a horrible matchup for Oregon, a great matchup for Texas Tech. If you go on social media, Oregon fans seem to believe that Texas Tech represents a second bye week in the college football playoff, that they're just going to coast their way to a game against Indiana, who beat them, by the way, earlier in the season. Texas Tech has never faced an offense like Oregon, yada, yada, yada. They've only played in the Big 12. They're only good against Big 12 teams. The problem that Oregon is facing, as I mentioned earlier in the episode, is that the Ducks make their living on the run game. And if you think you're just going to run the ball against Texas Tech's defense and you think you're going to win a game against Texas Tech by just running the ball over Texas Tech, you're wrong. You're just not. Because the issue is that David Bailey and Romello Hyde are coming for you. You've got the number one rush defense in the country. And if you abandon the run game and you try to throw, as I mentioned, David Bailey and Romello Hyde are in your face long before the play can develop. So if you get the ball off, Jacob Rodriguez and Ben Roberts are there either to pick it off or force a fumble. There's just no way to build any kind of offensive consistency. If any team is going to beat Texas Tech, it's going to be like a 16-14 type of game. It will not be a blowout by any means. Now, we'll preview the Ducks as we get closer to game week. Of course, the biggest snub of the college football playoff was BYU, not only left out, and really not only just not discussed, but the target of a bizarre propaganda campaign by the powers that be, namely ESPN. BYU had a better resume and better stats than Alabama, Notre Dame, and Miami, yet not even mentioned in the conversations leading up to the college football playoff. Not even mentioned in the college football playoff selection show when the college football playoff committee was explaining their choices. Didn't even mention BYU. Didn't come up. They were never a serious contender in the eyes of ESPN, which is absolutely disgusting. One of the most blatant show of bias was Kirk Herbstreit, who right after, I can't remember what game he called, but right after calling the game said, no team should ever, it was the SEC championship game. And he said, no team should ever be penalized for losing a conference championship game, talking about Alabama getting blown out by Georgia. And then in the same breath said, that said, BYU should be penalized for losing the Big 12 championship game. Now, normally I chalk it up to typical SEC bias and anti-Big 10, Big 12 sentiment, but BYU people that I've talked to as well have said that it's gone on for much longer. The BYU bias runs a lot deeper than their time in the Big 12. And I don't want to bring politics into this, and I won't bring politics into this, but it should be noted that politics kept BYU out of the Pac-12 for decades. And you can't rule out the possibility that politics may be playing a role here between the Disney-owned ESPN and BYU. Where the committee did get it right, despite the petulant whining from South Bend, the committee made the right call with Miami over Notre Dame. Miami has the head-to-head, and they have identical resumes. The committee was right to prioritize the head-to-head, and that is a great precedent to set moving forward. Games have to matter. You can't just decide, just because you won a game, the losing team is still a better team in our opinion, and they're going to get in anyway. They started doing that back in 2017, I believe, or maybe 2016. When the playoff committee, during the 4-team playoff era, mind you, let Ohio State in, who was 9-3 over the Big Ten champion Penn State, and Ohio State didn't even play in the Big Ten championship game. And by the way, Ohio State went in and is one of 2 teams in playoff history to get completely shut out. When we return, we'll have the good, the bad, and the ugly. This is the Flatland Sports Podcast presented by Midwest Helmets.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
The good, the bad, and the ugly. We'll start with the good. Texas Tech, as maybe you've heard, has won the Big 12 championship, recorded its first 12-win season in school history. First Big 12 championship ever in school history. First conference championship since 1994. And their first solo conference championship since winning the Border Conference in 1955. It has been a great week to be a Red Raider. We'll move on to the bad. A lot of bad this week, really. Jacob Rodriguez completely snubbed by the Heisman Committee. Not among the finalists. Just absolutely disgusting. With all of the hype, all of the talk about Jacob Rodriguez, and not even in the group heading to New York City. Rodriguez had the best defensive stats since Manti Te'o. Better defensive stats, by the way, than Manti Te'o. Also a real girlfriend who exists. A real wife who exists. But I'm not completely surprised here. This just reminds me of Graham Harrell back in 2008, who had better stats than everybody in the Heisman finalists and wasn't even invited to New York at all. So really at this point, there's only one thing left to do to shut these people up. and that's win the whole damn thing. Texas Tech is just going to have to go win a national championship, and people probably still won't shut up even after that. Moving on to the ugly. The ugly was the ugly crying that Notre Dame Fighting Irish fans have done in the last week. Did not make the college football playoff field. Wind is threatening to blow up the Atlantic Coast Conference. Withdrew from the Pop-Tarts Bowl. They are actively shopping around for conferences, by the way. They've talked to, just from what I've seen in my sources, they've talked to the Big Ten, who told them that it's all sports or none. They're not doing the partial basketball, non-football sports only thing and letting BYU stay independent in football. They are also talking to the Southeastern Conference and the Big 12, as well as the Big East. Now, Notre Dame athletic director said that the only conference commissioner that he has spoken to is Greg Sankey. I don't see Notre Dame in the SEC, but frankly, if you asked me 10 years ago, I don't see any of the layout of the college football landscape right now. But the withdrawing from the Pop-Tarts Bowl is one of the softest things I have seen in a long time, and that is saying a lot, considering that we shared a conference with the Texas Longhorns for decades. Would have faced the BYU Cougars, would have had a chance to prove it on the field that they belong, and decided, nah. Also, Kansas State and Iowa State followed suit, withdrawing. They were fined $500,000 each by the Big 12 for skipping bowl season. Just, again, soft. And starting an alarming trend that I think is going to continue even deeper as we get into future bowl seasons and possibly the end of bowl season as we know it. What I hope and what I've been pushing is that you take some of the more historic bowls that are not part of the college football playoff, aka the original Bowl Alliance Bowls, and put them in their own separate NIT style playoff with the Pop-Tarts Bowl at the top as the football NIT championship game. Now, the way you really need to fix bowl season, though, if you want to stop this, just do what you are seeing in college basketball. Put an NIL component into this thing. Give players a reason to want to play, to compete, to earn some actual dollars. And you'll see teams not vote to skip the bowls as often. It will probably still happen. But that's where we are. The game that we have loved is nowhere near the same as it used to be. It may never be the same again, and hopefully what it looks like in the future is still the game that we love in some capacity, maybe even a better version of what it is. That will remain to be seen. When we come back, we will pick the Big 12 bowl games. This is the Flatland Sports Podcast. Back for one more with you. We'll go through and pick the Big 12 bowl games this bowl season. We'll start on Saturday, December 27th for the Pop-Tarts Bowl. That is between number 12 BYU and number 22 Georgia Tech. A game, as any bowl game, you never know how it's going to go because the rosters are never the same as what they were. If BYU plays in this game with most of their roster, and if Bear Bachmeier is somewhat healthy, although I highly doubt Bachmeier is going to be playing in this game. But even still, a relatively healthy BYU with a bus driver of a quarterback should be able to take care of the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. That game, by the way, on ABC on 2:30. BYU a 4.5-point favorite as we sit today. I'm picking BYU to win this one 21-14. Moving on now to the second bowl game of that day. That will be the nightcap, the Kinder's Texas Bowl. That'll kick off 8:15 on ESPN. Houston, ranked number 21 versus the LSU Tigers, who just hired a brand new coach, came off of a disappointing 7-5 season. Started the season ranked in the top 5 and just fell apart after that. Ended up firing their coach and hiring Lane Kiffin. Houston, a 3-point favorite, so basically a toss-up. This should be a great game for Houston. I expect Houston to be energized. I expect their team to want to play. And I think Houston is going to go and just bulldoze the LSU Tigers. This is going to be a 32-20 game. for Houston. Moving on to Tuesday, December 30th, year of our Lord 2025, the Valero Alamo Bowl. This is a surprisingly good game that fell in our laps during bowl season. That kickoff is 8 p.m. on ESPN. It is TCU versus the number 16th USC Trojans. USC a 6-point favorite. TCU very quietly put together a decent 8-4 season this year. Had some tough losses. Were never really fully in Big 12 championship contention. However, a chance to make a statement win against a ranked USC team in their return to the Alamo Bowl. And I'm picking TCU to upset USC 21-17. Moving on now, December 31st. We'll have the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. That is Arizona State versus Duke. Arizona State will not have Sam Leavitt, who has entered the transfer portal. In my opinion, just an absolute... If we're talking about things that are making the game of college football worse, guys like Sam Leavitt transferring for their senior season elsewhere, just not great for Arizona State. That game will be on CBS at 1 p.m., and this is a game Duke is... Well, let me back up. Arizona State is absolutely the better team in 2025. Duke is on a roll. I don't think Arizona State is going to really want to be there. Now, that said, they did play well without Sam Leavitt in the final stretch of the season when Sam Leavitt was injured. I just think Duke is going to come ready to play in Arizona, not as much. I'm picking Duke to win this one 24-21. Moving on now to the SR5 distribution Las Vegas Bowl, where number 15 Utah will take on Nebraska. Utah a 15.5-point favorite. I think Utah is just going to bulldoze the Nebraska Cornhuskers in Las Vegas. Also a chance, Utah fans who have been clamoring to move the Big 12 championship to Las Vegas to show us what that could look like. And Utah, like I said, is going to absolutely bulldoze the Nebraska Cornhuskers. I'm picking Utah to win this one 35-17. We will not pick the College Football Playoff Orange Bowl with Texas Tech yet in this episode, but we will move on to Cincinnati Navy in the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. That is a 3:30 kickoff on ESPN. Navy a 2.5-point favorite. Cincinnati was going strong mid-season, and then the season collapsed as they hit the month of November. The thing about playing Navy or really any of the service academies is you're never going to be more conditioned than they are. So, fun story. Back in, I think, the 40s or the 50s, in college hockey, there was no actual regulation size for the hockey rink. So, the Army Academy at West Point, what they did was they had a comically huge hockey rink, like a football stadium size hockey rink, knowing that they're going to be way more conditioned than any team they face, and the size of the rink alone, they were going to be able to outlast and outperform teams that came to face them at home. And kind of the same deal. You're going to face Navy. They're going to run the triple option, an offense that, frankly, I think should come back, but an offense that nobody is used to seeing. They're going to run it to perfection, and they're never going to get tired. Cincinnati, I think, has a chance, though, to start the 2026 campaign on a high note here. It's going to be a tough one, but I think Cincinnati will win this one 24-21. And then the final bowl game of the season, another kind of sneaky good bowl game for the Big 12. Number 17, Arizona versus SMU in the Trust and Will Holiday Bowl, kind of a classic Pac-12 Holiday Bowl that we used to have. That's a 7 p.m. game on Fox. Arizona, a 3-point favorite. SMU had a good run at the end of the season, but I think Arizona is coming back in a big way, and this will be a chance for the Wildcats to make a statement ahead of their 2026 season. Arizona will win this game 28-12. And that's going to do it for me. Please take a moment, like, Subscribe to the channel. If you've got a comment, a question, a fit of rage, whatever it is, leave it in the comments. I'll be sure to read it on the next episode. I will be back next Wednesday for the Flatland Sports Podcast. Please step by Midwest Helmets. The link is in the description for their Instagram and Facebook page. Let Dallas make you a custom football helmet. I've got one on the way. It's going to be sitting in the studio behind me. Beautiful, beautiful works of art that Dallas is creating. For Flatland Sports, I am Christopher Johnston. Thank you so much for taking the time today, and Wreck 'em Tech.